Welcome to Bootstrap Businessmen, the podcast focused on developing the entrepreneur within on a shoestring budget. And I am your host, #1 best-selling fitness author, Dale L. Roberts, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Midwest best, Kevin S. Allen.
Hey, man, how we doing tonight, Dale? How you feeling?
Fantastic, feeling great as usual, of course.
All right, man, same here. Hey, I just wanted to throw a little thing in here. Hey, everybody that's listening, please support the show by simply shopping at Amazon.com. We have a link provided in our show notes. All you got to do is bookmark that in your browser. Anytime you go to shop at Amazon, just click on that. Basically, a small percentage gets kicked back to us. Doesn't cost you any more money. That small percentage helps cover the cost of our show, and overhead. So if you want to keep hearing the awesome, great content and some of the great guests and stuff that we got coming to you, just go in, bookmark that, use that link.
Excellent. Yeah. And hey, remember, if you like the show, then show us some love. Click the follow button on our site at show.bootstrapbusinessmen.com, Stitcher, or iTunes. And the best part is you won't miss out on a single episode if you're following us. And should we decide to have a special pop-up show with exclusive time-sensitive promotions, then you'll know all about it.
Which we've had what, at least 3 or 4 probably over the last few weeks here. Yeah. Pop-up episodes. We're giving away a lot of great books, some audio books. Man, people got to follow.
That's absolutely true. 2, 1. All right, fantastic. Today we've got a very special guest. Her name is Becca Niederkrom, and Becca is an expert in networking. This is going to be perfect if you're really trying to establish a business. Networking is going to get your business to the next level. Becca, what's going on?
Hey, just trying to end my day here, but on online and business, nothing ever ends. So
oh my gosh,
I'm just always working and enjoying it.
Very good stuff. So where are you calling from today, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm actually in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, yes. I love Dallas. Everything's bigger. I went to the Cowboys Stadium over there in AT&T Stadium. Isn't that thing freaking huge?
It's Jerry's World. It's pretty enormous. It's very Texas-sized, but everything here is huge. So
no doubt, no doubt. How long have you been living down in Dallas?
I've been here twice in my life, so I've been here now for 8 years. And it was sort of a business. I don't actually love it, but as far as a business decision, it's a very stable place to live and grow a business. So for those reasons, I'm sticking it out and trying to make as much money as possible before I go to one of the coast. One of them. I'm not sure which one.
Really? What's your end plan? Where do you plan on ending up at?
I'm not sure if I can make a decision because I'm a beach girl. I grew up in South Florida. I lived in Southern California on the beach as well. And I love sailing and beaches, but I also love the wilderness and hiking. So I might have to do half and half. I might have to totally snowbird it. Do winters at the beach and summers in the forest somewhere.
Certainly doable. Is this like your 5-year plan?
The beach is my 2-year plan. Okay. But I also have to convince my husband that he would have to step away from his job. And I guess so. Actually, I'm turning 40 this year. So suddenly everything is in warp speed because now it's this pressing milestone of not that I haven't been an adult, but now it's really here. All my dreams and visions for what being an adult is supposed to be is supposed to be here this year. So I'm sort of trying to go as fast as possible with everything.
Oh, nice. So it seems like we're starting to really get a good understanding of who you are, but let's go ahead and take it back a step. Sure. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about the business that you've developed and where you're at today.
Okay. Well, I can probably say it with you guys. If I said the name Gary Vaynerchuk, would you know who I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Throw a few F-bombs for you, but he does a million of those. But I find myself, I guess Gary just turned 40, and so there's some ways I feel very similar to his upbringing. So I started my own business, or maybe just a freelance gig, when I was 8 years old. I've always been fascinated with just making money. And so even to this day, when I talk to friends and they say, oh, we should, after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, we should do something fun, I'm thinking, I've been doing something fun all day long. There's highs and lows to it, but just running a business is always fun to me, making money. And I know I listen a lot to Gary Vee, and he talks about, not only does he have his huge, $1 million business, VaynerMedia, the wine library business, but he also does eBay and garage selling on the side. And so to me, I feel like kindred spirits with him, as far as just always being inclined to make money and just see an opportunity. So I started that when I was 8. I was a loan shark at my school, charging exorbitant amounts of interest so that the kids could shop. We had a gift shop in our school with, just random little books and journals and pencils. And so I would loan out money and make, 200, 300% interest and on my allowance. And I did that very quietly. But those little, we'd have the gift shop, and then we'd have these pop-up shops where they'd sell those erasers and, God knows what, little accessories that seemed just so fun. So no one ever had any money, and I did. So I'd take my allowance and triple. And then later on in life, when I was about 13 years old, I became certified in instructing swimming. But what happened there is I saw more of an opportunity to have establishments hire me, but I sort of fell into a crowd, and this was in Dallas at the time, of some of the oil tycoons and millionaires and billionaires, and so they hired me for private instruction. So for babies to their grandparents, I was teaching swimming. So I did this like a good portion, a good 10 years of my life. I was doing that and built up a business and made more money before college than I did graduating with college with a piece of paper and that awful first job out of college.
Yeah.
So that's sort of been my path, is a little bit, I'll say it here, is a little bit of the struggle of what I'm supposed to do and what just has always come natural to me. So it's that urge of pleasing the parents, pleasing society, and clocking in and clocking out, which doesn't fit my personality at all. And then also just sort of having fun making money. And so I've always just sort of gone back and forth trying to figure out what's right for me. And finally, I decided that I've got to put my foot down and just go into business for myself again. And because the $30,000 a year job for the management trainee program at Sherwin-Williams was not really me at all, and I made so little money compared to what I was making when I was 16 and 17 and 20 and 22. So I made the switch after doing a little bit of sales and marketing. Made the switch into going back to business for myself after I had sort of saved up a little bit of money. So that brings me to sort of present day business, adult business, Becca, and so I started a business again when I found a need for senior citizens to be trained in technology. And yes, I have the patience of a saint, and just started training 95-year-olds, 100-year-olds, 100-year-old men on Facebook so they could find more dates. There's I have lots of fun characters that I would meet. And he was like the only one in the independent living center, so he was doing great in the dating world. But I got into that business because I was in technology and just thought, you know what, there's got to be a better way for people to connect. And I just saw it over and over again with the digital immigrants and those who just, basically what I mean by that is those who weren't raised with an iPhone in their hand or an iPad or a computer. And so it was a little bit newer and they needed someone. And so I got into that business and learn how to truly network. And that's kind of how, to tie back to the networking, how I figured out that I couldn't do I couldn't do Google ads and Facebook ads. I had to go in person for this particular business. And what I found out is that when I learned the skill, I decided to teach other people. but I also say to everyone, it was the quickest way to cash. So it didn't cost any money. I could do it, learn how to do it better and better, because we're all trying to always do better in our promotions and our marketing. And I could make cash by the end of the week. And then I could go higher and higher after that with how I wanted to leverage myself. So that's sort of me in a nutshell. Is just I'm constantly evolving and growing and taking skills that I've learned myself and just passing it on to other people.
That's really awesome. And hopefully, Kevin, I'm sorry, I told you ahead of time, as soon as you work with seniors, I was like, I'm going to like this lady already. See, I spent the better part of 20 years in the healthcare industry as an activities director.
Oh,
so most
wow.
likely, you probably communicated with
That's right.
someone like me on a regular basis. So awesome. Kudos to you. There's two things that, of course, speak to me directly is you work with the elderly and you have compassion for them. Now, don't ever call them elderly to their face because they will straight up slap you. They're okay with aging and senior citizen, but at one time I was set straight by somebody like, don't call me elderly. That's really cool. I commend you. And on top of that, you said something that really speaks to me and of course the audience that's following us, and that is starting a business with no money whatsoever. So kudos to that. So give me a little bit more of an idea. The audience you're working with are senior citizens. Is it just specifically, are you working in independent living only, or are you looking at assisted living communities, nursing centers, subacute units, group homes, things like that?
Well, it's been a little bit of everything, and it's evolved from there. My goal was just to find people like you that understood that, you know, the elderly or the aging could possibly do this. Mm-hmm. So that was actually a difficult task, which is why I had to be very, very specific and pull people in when I would stand up at network meetings and do my 30-second elevator pitch, because I had to get people to buy into the benefit of what was happening. And so at times it was independent living, because independent living is could be anything actually from 55, 60, which is this day and age is extremely active. Definitely not aged or elderly by any means of what my grandparents were back in the 80s. Yeah. And then also assisted living, and then independent clients as well. So a lot of baby boomer children who are really frustrated with their parents. So they'd come to me, and assisted living would come to me for advice on gadgets. There's new technology now for the senior community and for assistive technology to make everything easier. So instead of just putting just any old computer, there's computers made specifically for someone. And so that was sort of the education. I would go off to conferences, learn what was happening out there, and then I would bring that information, especially to the assisted living communities and those activity directors on what was happening out there.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's funny. I saw this coming probably about a decade ago, and that was something I got a jump on. And the last community that I worked at, I really focused on bringing technology to the seniors. And a lot of them were like wondering, why are you building an entire lab? I said, because we need to make that connection, because what is separating people, what separated people, 10, 20 years ago, as far as geography goes, it's no longer an excuse. So It was great when I saw a mother communicating with her daughter over in the United Kingdom, from right over here in Arizona, the United Kingdom. That was awesome, and it was a very tearful and very touching moment. And it wouldn't have happened had I not had the access to that technology. And of course, having to build that bridge, because I think you can probably agree, senior citizens tend to be just a little bit, I don't know, it looks like it's going to be too hard. I might break it. I don't learn well.
Exactly. That was really the first response is, I'm scared I'm going to break it.
Yep.
And which I can understand on a PC. I'm a Mac person, obviously. On a PC, it's actually more easy to not, sort of break it and get into a wrong place. Where a Mac, which is double the price, is a lot harder to get into a troublesome spot. So I can see where they're coming from. What happens is if they were to break it or get into sort of a danger spot they couldn't figure out how to exit out of, they have nobody to call, because children, as they get older, have no time. They have families of their own. They have kids that they're running around. They have jobs that they're trying to keep, homes to upkeep. And so these seniors have nobody to call, because they get on the phone with their child and the child yells at them and also gives directions very quickly. Oh, just do this, just exit, hit the red bubble, exit out, and you'll be fine. So sort of like in a show-off sort of nature, instead of writing it down, slowing down, and being very clear. And I mean, I do it to my own mother. so I don't know, maybe because we can like push each other's buttons, so I know exactly where the buttons are. But I know how it is. I mean, we all are like that with our own families. Families are just funny and silly like this and challenging. And so I was sort of like that go-between to make sure. But also what I find is, I mean, you're very progressive as an activity director, whereas a lot of activity directors were also very resistant to allowing their community to connect. They didn't see it as connect, they saw it also as one more thing they had to do, which is why it was really important that I got in there and said, I'm going to come in and help. Let me put up posters on 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. Let me give you the right technology, not the 15-year-old Dell computer. Let's not, just put anything in there. Let's really do it with some strategy, because that can relieve your position as an activity director, because you've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's the thing is, you're gonna run into some terse personalities, and this goes for just about any business. But when it comes to activities directors, there's just choice few that are starting to understand that this is no longer the generation of a bicycle built for two sing-alongs. This is, a generation that's becoming tech savvy. They're a little bit reserved, but they're not completely against coming over to learning that technology. So kudos to you once again for going to that generation and really trying to talk to them. But of course, you've got that bridge that you got to kind of cross, and that's known as the activities director. And sometimes they kind of prevent you. But what you can do is hopefully sell to them exactly what's in it for them. And I think for me, what I understood was anytime someone came to me and said, hey, I would like to, for instance, a young lady, she was 16 years old, she came to me and said, I want to teach your seniors how to work on Facebook. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, but here's what I can do for you. She gave me an entire folder with an entire plan laid out exactly how she's going to do it. And I said, oh, so you're going to do an activity essentially. I was like, done. It's yours. And the girl ran with it for about a couple years, and it was so funny. Even when I left the community, I saw people that she had trained continue to get on and work those skills. So yeah, keep to it. Don't give up. Don't give up. There are activities directors out there that will listen to you. You just gotta get it to where you can tell them what's in it for them.
Exactly. That is, that's the biggest sales principle is whip 'em. What's in it for me? Everyone's really thinking about themselves, and everyone has to report to someone, whether you're working for yourself and it's just your bottom line to pay your bills, or to be responsible to a spouse and children, or to your boss. So everybody's just in it for themselves.
Now, a question for you before Kevin takes over here, because I've done nothing but dominated for like the first 20 minutes now.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, he's taking notes here. No problem. He's actually messaging me on Facebook. Shut up any time now, dude. Oh wait, hang on. We're on his mobile device, but nonetheless.
That is not happening, by the way.
No, this is great. I'm so excited that you were an activity director, so you know exactly what I was doing.
Yes, actually, to brag upon myself, I'm an activity director with well over a decade and a half of experience in the industry, and actually I was the mentor for an entire organization. I was flown throughout the United States to actually train other activities directors, and this was one of those things I used to say is this has to be your top priority. You need to get everybody up here because the baby boomer generation is that much closer to going into the healthcare industry. Now, I'm not saying that my mom is going to be in a nursing home, because if she's watching this, she will for sure eviscerate me. Not to be played with here, but independent living is a very real scenario in the healthcare industry, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why a lot of these activities directors. So activities directors, listen to me very closely, okay? Get your head out of your ass, and you need to start talking to people like Becca, because she's bringing the greatest value to the table that your activities program can have altogether. So now my question to you is this, can anyone start a business like this?
Sure. Why not? I mean, you have to, nothing happens overnight, so without a doubt, you have to be passionate about it. I mean, I don't care if you're 40, 50 years old and you want to mow lawns because you're passionate about landscaping or lawns, or teaching computers. Whatever it may be, you have to have passion because nothing happens overnight. And when you strike out on your own, that's when the haters come out. And they come out when you least expect it. I mean, I left my job. My husband and I are financially sound people. We've made responsible decisions, and I wanted to go out and help the senior crowd. And I can't believe how many haters came out of the woodworks. So you can start something, but it's amazing how many people are going to doubt you, hate on you, and actually sort of unfriend you in real life just because it just makes them uncomfortable. And that was just me teaching seniors computers. Like, it's bizarre to me. But people get uncomfortable, and so you have to be ready for things to happen, things to not take off right away. And so then you'll start to doubt yourself. Things can go wrong. Contracts can end suddenly. So you have to have thick skin and a stomach and a little bit of money in the bank or a side job at the grocery store, Starbucks. Like, you have to be passionate enough that if you're 45 years old and you want to start something, you have to be okay with working at a Kroger store or a Safeway part-time as things get started and be confident doing that, which is what I recommend to everyone. And there's a million side hustles you could do. You don't have to work at the grocery store, but just be confident and passionate as you get things going.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. How do you cope with those haters?
I ignore them a lot of times. I have other friends I joined a lot of different business groups so I could find support elsewhere. So as I was losing some people or people were commenting in my life, I was just really confident in what I was doing. And when you mentioned this before, when I was on video Skype with a gentleman who's 85 years old, who's losing his memory, and his kids come to visit him once every 4 years, and I just closed that gap with getting on Skype, on video Skype, screw you. You can hate me all you want, but you're fucking nuts to hate on me when I'm actually making some magic happen. So I just find other people who support me, having a good supportive spouse as well to just keep me up when I feel down. I feel that no one really understands what I'm doing. So just surrounding myself with good people and just all the usual things just to keep your momentum going. Just healthy lifestyle, good diet, all of those things actually really matter.
Yeah, very, very good. I love that. Great wisdom. I'm not going to even add anything to that. Kevin, you've been quiet, dude. I saw you fiddling around with your microphone. Are you able to talk?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm sitting here going, okay, answered my question, answered my other question,
good,
answered the last question. So I'm trying to come up with something for you, but this is amazing because my mom, she's a little bit older than most, but she's finally learned how to text. And now her and my daughter communicate all the time. Yeah, so, I mean, as silly as that, it's awesome what you're doing. And the mindset, you've answered all my mindset questions. So right now I'm just sitting here going, wow, I don't even know what to ask.
Well, you know what? So. Let me go back to that one part about, so the story I just told about the gentleman who didn't get to see his family.
Sure.
Because they were running very successful careers on the West Coast, and so they could only come in every 4 years. And, life was busy for them, but their dad is just sitting in his lazy boy every day, and time wasn't going as fast for him. So those were like when I would network, when I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I just quit my job. That was actually really, it was stressful, but it was really good in all the other ways. Sure. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what the hell did I do? I've got to figure out how to sell people. And I would start using stories. So I first started with, okay, I need some clients. So I'm going to just call around and see if I can volunteer just, you know, 1 day a month just to get some of those experiences so I can get some clients. But then I would share the stories. I had a very specific formula on how I would talk in front of people, and I would share the stories. And those stories would get people to say, I need that in my life because I know, you know, my Uncle Jackie or my friend's grandmother is having the same problem. Her kids don't come to visit. I've got to talk to you. So it was always in the stories and storytelling that would get people after the meeting to come up to me and say, hey, I need your card, or I need your contact information, or how much do you charge? And that's exactly the response I wanted after talking in front of a group, because I needed clients and I needed money really, really fast.
That's really, really cool that you're willing to provide value in advance of giving services. That's really awesome. And you bring up a really good point that anytime someone is in, you know, no matter what business you're in a sales-based business. You got to sell people on things, and facts tell, stories sell. We can sit here and tell facts and statistics about, you know, the growing technology and the fact that, you know, seniors, you know, are going to be exploding, you know, at the seams here pretty soon, the population. So, you know, we can sit here and talk about all that, but the bottom line is if you could, you know, share the story about the 85-year-old man who's been, you know, cooped up in his room in his lazy boy with, you know, only contact with his family every 4 years. That right there, man, that tugs on heartstring, man. And I'm telling you, literally, it's giving me goosebumps as I'm talking about it, because you're creating one of the greatest impacts throughout the world, because that's really giving of yourself. And regardless of the amount that you put on your service, it's invaluable. It's absolutely invaluable.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want people to have goosebumps. Compared to, and you probably saw a lot of this, I would see executive directors and activity directors and home health care stand up and say, you know, hi, we're ABC Home Health Care. We've been in business. We're celebrating our 20th year in business, and we're so excited. And I'm just sitting there, and it's a non-goosebump event. Mm-hmm. Like, what? That's not doing anything for me, because, again, I'm going in like, what's in it for me? How is this going to help me? And you celebrating your 20th year anniversary does nothing for me. I need to hear magic. I need to hear all the absolute fabulousness that's happening and how you're changing lives, and not like cute slogans. I just want to hear magic. And a lot of times, I'm sure, Dale, you've heard some of it, I never heard the magic. I just heard the facts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people kind of get into employee mode where they're just like, they drink the Kool-Aid and they're ready to share the company's story. But the bottom line is this is, you know, what have you done? What have you done? And it also is like, you know, what are you going to do for me? You know, what have you done for me lately? In the words of Janet Jackson, you know.
Oh boy, I didn't know we were going there tonight.
Yeah. But you know, and you know, yeah, you're right. 20 years. It's going to get that cheap pop. People are going to go, oh, hooray, 20 years, great. But in the back of their mind, it's just, it's an automatic thing. People are going to applaud that automatically. But yeah, you know, to get that goosebump moment, yeah, they got to sit there and they got to talk about, you know, what have they done within the community. The last, you know, place I was at, they used to, you know, put together fundraisers in order to provide grants to the outside the community of upwards of like $5,000 at a time. And that right there, that's impactful. And of course, actually, it's not just so much giving the money, but what was done with the money to actually grow the community around them. And that right there means a lot more than, hey, we've been in 20 years, hooray, we've got 80 beds and we filled them, yay.
Yay, exactly.
So, hey, so I'd like to transition over. We've kind of teased at it just a little bit, and I think this is important when it comes to somebody that's new to the business or any kind of business, is networking. I want you to break it down and get it down to the nth degree, because we have yet. Are you unsing me? I want you to break down the networking down to the nth degree and talking about What is it, and how does it serve your business?
Well, let me start by saying I actually hated networking, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
Okay.
And if anyone's listening, if they've ever been to a Chamber of Commerce or networking type meeting with your insurance guy, oh gosh, just one of each. There's always like a health insurance, there's a lawyer, a Mary Kay lady.
It works. It works.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, whatever MLM is in there. And so I'm still unsure. However, I knew if I could get really specific about it and bring myself to it, I could make money. And so my goal with it was actually to get in and to get out of it as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. However, every time now that I've transitioned a lot of stuff and sort of leveraging myself a little bit more online than offline, anytime I have a new product, even if it's a digital course or an ebook, whatever it might be, I can still rely on networking. I can still go into a meeting for 6 months and make the most impact. So I didn't like it, and if anyone's listening, you don't have to like it either. But it's a tool, and it's a very, very low-cost tool that you could walk away after a 1-hour meeting and have a client. So my first thing is just commit to doing one group meeting, whether it be a BNI or Chamber of Commerce or whatever, not Toastmasters, LaTip, just Google your area and find one. What I did was I did a couple. So I found one in my niche, which, Dale, you're probably familiar with some of the different senior care networking events that might happen in your area. You're in Arizona, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. So we have a bunch in Dallas that are focused just on the senior niche. So I found some of those. Those were all free. They all came with really good meals, like huge meals. So you can at least score a free meal out of it. So know that, like get your coffee, get like a huge breakfast, because the independent living centers would just roll out like their best dining experience so you could get the experience of it. So know that you at least get that little perk from it in case you're really, really broke and really, really, really bootstrapped. You have that. So choose something in your niche. But my other key to success was choosing a networking group where there was skin in the game. So there are a lot of networking groups, and there's a lot that people don't actually take very seriously. And the only way people are going to take seriously is if they spend money on it. And so for that reason, I actually chose BNI. And now I'm aware there's others that charge money or small fee. But with BNI, it was more of a long term. I had to pay by the month. I had to pay dues. We went to an exclusive club, and probably like the most exclusive area of Dallas. I chose that one. I chose one that had money, that other people that were showing up wanted the same thing, and I wanted that sort of sphere of influence in my life. And I also knew that that particular physical location was surrounded by some very exclusive senior community properties where people would have money to be able to afford me. And the kids would probably live nearby, and they could also. So it was very strategic. I made sure I paid, and so I ended up paying maybe, I don't know, $100 to $150 a month. And, I would tell other people about this group, and they would say, no, I could go to this one, and it doesn't cost anything. Mm-hmm. I said, the level of interest that you're going to get from the other attendees will be what you paid for. So throw down $150 a month, and you'll get people that are showing up, that they have to give referrals. Like, you really have to go all in and play that whole networking game where you need to tell your friends, you need to show up with referrals, the whole offline shaking hands thing. And while I was doing that, I was really getting into the online world. So it was just like, oh, God, this is driving me nuts. But it was working. So pay money and prepare. So don't go in there just thinking like, oh, I'm going to get breakfast. Go in there saying, I'm going to go in and I'm going to train this group as my sales force. One of the big mistakes I see is that people want to go, hey, Kevin, hey, Dale, I want you to be my customer. I want your parents or your grandparents to be my customer. And it's not supposed to be that way. I want you guys to know what I do, and I want you to be my sales force, and I want to tell you stories about the 85-year-old man, so that way when you're hanging out with your buddies, having a beer, having coffee, breakfast, you're like, oh, you know what? I totally remember this gal, Becca. She does some sort of computer thing with old people. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's something with computers, but I know you need it. Here's her number. So that's what I really want, like just to have someone's memory jogged, and I want to train you guys. So when you walk into a meeting, this is your sales force. You're not trying to sell them because that's just a very short-term gain. Mm-hmm. Now what happens is some of those people will buy your services. So that's just like extra money. That's food money that week, and that's like part of like the quickest way to cash is through networking. But go in training. And one thing I did is I really practiced my elevator pitch. Every single group. Have you guys been to one of these networking groups, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So they all do the round the room, round the table, 30-second elevator pitch or 60-second intro, but I think it's 60 seconds is probably the maximum amount of time that I've seen. And there's a certain way that you want to do the pitch, and you want to practice it. So I would get in my car and maybe drive about 20 or 30 minutes, and I would recite my elevator pitch over and over and over every single week for 6 months straight, not missing a beat. So that I walked in, and I would have, like, on occasion, I'd have some of my friends who were business owners saying, hey, take me to one of your meetings. And they were blown away. They're like, oh, my God, I couldn't believe that was you. You blew away the whole room when I would get up. Because I had a very specific strategy on how to pull people in so that people would have goosebumps or basically just come to me after the meeting and want my number immediately and know of someone. I know someone who would be perfect for you, Becca. I wanted like that kind of light switch or light bulb to go on in their head when I talked. And that was just from me practicing. So it was serious business. I was paying for it. I was practicing. I was reciting. I was changing it up a little bit. So if I was going to see the same people, maybe I would just insert a different story. And so that meant like a whole new routine. So I definitely had to practice again. So I had to come off, like even though I was shaking inside and my palms were like dripping with sweat. Just absolutely dripping with sweat, because activity director, the whole senior community crowd is an interesting group, and they just intimidated the heck out of me. It was a very traditional crowd. It was an older crowd, very traditional, and they didn't want any new people coming in, and anyone younger than them, they did not want near them. So I would be shaking inside, and so it took like that 30 seconds. And then I would just sit down, and inside, like everything inside me would like start to cool down, and I would be okay. But I had to practice, so I wouldn't shake in front of people. I had to show them who was boss and that they needed to work with me. And I was a serious business, even though I was brand new. Like I started the business last week. I wanted them to think like this is for real. Like I'm your Best Buy. What does Best Buy have? The Geek Squad. I'm your Geek Squad for seniors. And nice. I've been in business forever, even though like I just like went to Office Depot and purchased some cards. They didn't need to know that for like and the minimum, like at the $20 minimum, because I didn't want to spend too much, and I needed them stat like Vistaprint, the free ones from Vistaprint. The shipping was too long, so I had to splurge on the $20 Office Depot.
That's awesome. I want to go back to your elevator pitch, and this is really kind of a good one, man. You know, a lot of people, unfortunately, are just so scared to go out, first of all, networking, you know, whether they're investing in it, which I highly recommend. If you've got the discretionary expense, you can, as long as you spend it on, first of all, you know, you investigate first. Make sure that it's a good fit. I think that's one of the things that you did, is you made sure that it was a good fit. You strategically placed yourself. Brilliant, by the way. That right there, doing a little bit of recon always makes a huge difference, especially if you're going to be investing about $150 per month. You want to make sure that there's some type of return on investment. But in any event, you don't want to just go and pay for something and do nothing with it. And I think that's one of the things is you became prepared, and that's where the elevator pitch comes in, because like you said, there's some meetings I was at had about half dozen people, and sometimes you had 3 dozen people, and you have a half a minute to make the biggest impression. Thankfully, I've always been pretty articulate, and I'm able to express myself and make quite an impact, and know exactly what to say and when to say it. So tell us a little bit about what makes a good elevator pitch or a good 30-second story.
You want to start very clearly with who you are and what your business is. I have the whole formula. I should probably send it over to you, this little formula that I work off of. So you want to include that. You want to start with it, and you want to close with it. My website has changed since, but my website was computertutorforseniors.com. So I would start with it, and then I would say, once again, I'm Becca, and I would leave, for me, my last name is like just huge, and so I wanted to simplify that. That didn't matter in the process what my last name was, but just Becca, and my business is computertutorforseniors.com. So I focused on what mattered, and just sort of drilled down, and then I focused on the benefits. So not like you were saying before, Dale, we have 24 beds to fill, and we have 5 rooms. It wasn't about that. It was, what are the benefits? So I would include the benefits. I would also add in what made me different from other people. And so my business was very unique. It was niche. There is no Geek Squad for seniors. Now it's starting to become, because of directors like you, it's becoming a lot more popular and more accepted, and it has to be. But I would talk about how I was different from just any computer support service. Or maybe I would talk about how I was different from calling your daughter, your adult daughter, who is busy juggling 3 kids in soccer practice. So I would just add that little tweak in there. And then depending on if I had 60 seconds versus 30 seconds, I would throw in a story. So it was really who I was benefiting, what they were looking for, and what they were challenged with. So, I would talk about my client is challenged with getting on the computer and connecting to their bank statements, ordering gifts off of Amazon, connecting on Facebook. So I would try to get a little bit specific, and if I saw the same people, I would change it up just to add a little bit of color. So I would usually add in something such as, I can't even, you have me on the spot, otherwise I would have like one of my whole spiels for you. But I would say that I work with people who want to do this, but technology frustrates them, and they're ready to take their computer and throw it out the window. And what that does, we've all been in that situation where our computer is just acting funny that day, and everyone can relate to that. Everyone can. So even the people in the room that are 20 years old can relate to that. And so I wanted them to have feeling. So I always wanted to elicit some sort of feeling, and then just close with who I was and make it really, really simple. Just computer tutor for seniors. So something catchy. A lot of people do a slogan or some sort of motto. That could work, but I'd rather just get right to the website.
Nice. That's really, really good. Now, what kind of recommendations would you give to the people that go to these meetings that unfortunately are kind of like, they might as well come out and go, me? What would you recommend that they do to tweak their approach?
To change their perspective. And I had to do the same thing. So I was walking in, not very familiar with networking at all, and my first meeting was, the typical crowd, the insurance, the Mary Kay, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ugh, this is gross. I feel gross. I need a shower after this meeting. This guy wants to have a coffee talk about insurance. I already have insurance. Like, what are we going to talk about? And I would say change your perspective and pretend that this is your sales force, because they are, and you're paying for this time because you need to pay for a networking meeting if you want the really good impact. And train your sales force to go and conquer. You're not selling to them. Nice. You're just trying to get them to sell for you in their day-to-day transaction on Facebook, Twitter, or in real life.
Sure. So, when you pay for those meetings and stuff too, there's the groups, Chambers of Commerce, BNI, small business advantage groups. There's so many different things. The nice part about it is when you do become a paid member, there's some loyalty there, right? So what you're doing is you're taking and putting that loyalty to work for you. I like it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you want to be part of, and that's why it's important to do a paid meeting, because you're loyal, everyone else is loyal. And everyone else, the insurance guy, even if it's Mary Kay, they're also really dependent. The women I met that were in my BNI, that there was one that was Mary Kay, she had quit her job. And so she needed to sell oodles of eyeshadow to make shit happen in her life. And so she was committed. We were all committed to each other, and just to do our best and to show up and do. BNI also has expectations. So you were told you have to show up with these things. And so I was there to hustle.
Nice.
Excellent. Very, very good. Hopefully everybody's catching a little bit of something. You know, BNI groups are wonderful. I handled a lot in Chamber of Commerce, and something that really helped me out. I'm not sure if this is something that you've done, but I was able to build more of a relationship with people outside of those meetings by doing volunteering engagement. So, for instance, one of the times we went and did one of the color runs, you know, where people do like the running and they get splashed with like cornstarch that's colored, so they turn into neon colors. That was a blast. We gave back to an important cause, but in the same instance, I was able to build and develop a bond with other people in the area, and it wasn't just about this guy selling his insurance or this lady, you know, selling her Mary Kay or her It Works product. It became more of a let's give back to the community. And I found that I was a bit more receptive to that insurance salesman or that It Works representative when they did something like volunteering. Have you ever had any experience at all with the volunteering outside, of course, your individual?
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy for overall bonding. I didn't do any of that specifically, but there were different like cocktail hours and more social events, and sometimes someone would take out a sailboat and we'd all get together and do a sort of sailing event together. So just some social activities I would do. And then I also would offer just webinars just to help people with their online marketing and how to use Facebook, how to use Twitter. And so I would just initiate some of those just for free, just to be able to add some value and pull people into my network.
Tremendous, tremendous. Now, a question for you. We haven't quite delved too far into the online community and such.
Yeah.
Where are you going, and how are you finding it?
What? Why are you laughing?
No, I was sitting here. That's what I was just gonna ask you.
He's like, damn you.
I'm not totally following. So, Kevin, can you clarify where am I going with the online?
No. How are you finding your target audience online when in the physical world you can just simply go to an assisted living community? How are you finding your audience online?
So this is another part of really utilizing the money spent at the networking groups I built my email list and a Facebook following while I was there. So I was leveraging myself in every way possible because I knew I would eventually not want to network anymore or network for that particular product and service. Mm-hmm. So I built my email list and my LinkedIn, my Twitter, and I also went to conferences around the country to just sort of expand myself a little bit more globally. And so that's sort of how I found them. And then I also know of the different conferences now. Like I went to the AARP conference, which was kind of sort of fun. Don Rickles and Bob Newhart were like the keynote at the last one I went to.
Oh, that would be awesome.
They've never been on a stage together. So that was like the highlight of the AR. To say I went to the AARP conference when I also go to Affiliate Summit West, which is like I had LL Cool J at Affiliate Summit West, and then I had Don Rickles at the AARP conference. So night and day. So I just sort of follow those hashtags, stay in touch with people in those ways, and that's sort of how I find people. But I've just started leveraging myself more online because I had to, once I built the business, I had to make a decision on how am I going to build the business. Am I going to build a Geek Squad and need to physically grow and possibly compete with, I saw tons of different nonprofits and for-profits building businesses like mine. or am I going to go online? And so I just started to move everything online and just be a phone call away for people to help them out with their computer needs. So things have evolved, but I follow hashtags, Twitter, and just find the attention of where people are at.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah, he started laughing because the two of us kind of great minds think alike. So I stole his question clearly. It's one opportunity to say something.
Like the marriage, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. See, the two of us actually, we've known each other since we were teenagers. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we've known each other for quite a
while. Like 5 years?
Exactly.
We one of the things, and this is interesting because you said you're starting to move online. I'm in kind of the same mode that you are, believe it or not. Yes. My business, I've always been, kind of old school a little bit, like to go out, shake hands, kiss babies and shake hands, if you will, politician, around.
Yeah.
Yes. And I still enjoy that. I still enjoy to meet people, hear their stories, and I'm trying to figure out how to really do that online within the same business model that I have, because it was built from going to physical locations. So how do you do that? So I'm in kind of the same transition that you are with moving everything online. So I mean, are you finding it? Are there any real major hiccups for you, or is it becoming easier?
It's becoming easier. I mean, it's been a long road. There's a lot of noise online as well, which I think there's a lot of noise and a lot of crap online that unfortunately I know I'm not the only one. I definitely got distracted with, and I think other people are getting distracted too, if I might say that, because there's so many fairy tale stories and rags to riches stories, and when I first was exposed to it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I could do this. I would always get out my calculator. My husband's like, please don't do this. I'm like, wow, if I just had 50 clients, I would make $100,000 per month. This is easy. And so I was sort of following a lot of like what other people, hopefully I'm not alone in doing this, but I would always calculate it out, like, oh, this is so easy. But I was listening to like all the noise online, and so I had to decide that, look, I know a lot about business. I started really young. I have a good head on my shoulders, and I'm going to just play it out how I want to play it out. So what do I really want to do? What do I really want to offer online? What do I really love doing? Or what do I want to learn more about? Because online, everything's changing. So I feel like I always have to be in that mode to want to learn more about it, whether it's SEO or the Facebook algorithm or Snapchat, whatever it might be. So it's really me just following my own path. But the biggest thing to online is, okay, are you going to offer a product or a service? And a service is the easiest thing to start out with, just like doing it offline, and then moving it into an e-product or some sort of like hybrid of that, and then build your email list and just start talking to them consistently. And when I first started talking on my email list, I had no idea what I was doing. I know a little bit more about what I'm doing now, but I'm just consistently talking and trying to just figure out what it is that I want to keep offering. So I'm just sort of always chiseling away at it. Like I don't know what my answer is. I'm just always moving forward. And my love is really technology and marketing. And how can I do that ethically? So like I said before, there's a lot of noise. I think there's a lack of ethics online, and a lot of snake oil, and it's so disgusting. And so there's part of me that's also, this plays another role in where I'm at now, and I've sort of taken it slower, although maybe if I would have gone a different direction, I could be making 50 or 100,000 per month. But I'm really turned off by some of what I've seen online, and I know that there's a lot that people don't need, and so I've been really slowing my roll and just really focusing on more of the service. People want to be able to pick up the phone or get on a video Skype or do this and really talk to someone or email someone, not be thrown into a program with a Facebook group and whatever, like coaches hours or whatever's going on in the online world. It's like I'm so disgusted by it that has played a big role in me just sort of slowing my roll, saying, you know, I'm going to just do it my way and a real way. Not, I think some of the snake oil is going to get exposed. And
sure. Well, I think you're just right now you're starting to see a lot of that, come to surface and stuff. The snake oil, if you will.
Yeah. Sorry to get so like vicious about it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be authentic, and I like that about you. I can tell right away you're a very authentic person. So being authentic, and Dale, it kind of sounds like they need some principles to be guided by. Anyway, that's a little inside joke between him and I. But no, you're absolutely right. When I first started doing this, and maybe Dale, you too, but I'm just being honest, I have shiny object syndrome.
Welcome to the club.
Yes. Yeah. So, it was just, get rich overnight, if you put $74 in the spin wheel, you get $150 back every day, or there's so many gimmicks, but luckily I stayed the course and everything's kind of, narrowed out. So, Dale, I don't know where we're at. Are we running close?
We're getting down to the end of the hour,
okay.
But I was free to interrupt you and tell you I wasn't paying attention to you because I was actually checking my Facebook messages.
Oh, you're fine, man.
No, I'm just jacking with you, dude.
No.
It's a joke.
I hope he's joking.
I don't. No.
It's off.
Yeah. I was going to say, wait a minute, I haven't been messaging you.
It was playing on the whole distraction thing there.
Yes,
so.
Yes.
Sorry, it was a late joke, guys. My bad.
He's buffering.
Yes.
That's what's happening. But, Becca, honestly, thank you so much for reaching out. I believe it was in the Kimra Luna Mastermind group.
Oh.
Yep. Thanks for reaching out, and definitely a pleasure for being on. And Dale, I think we could probably, have her on again and maybe delve a little farther into, what she's doing online.
The hour's gone by so fast. I can say this, Becca, that easily you and I could probably sit down and have an entire webinar down for actually activities directors, and we're going to title it, Get Your Head Out of Your Ass, Technology.
I think it's going to be a huge deciding factor when it's time to move mom into a community that's more supportive of her needs. I think technology is going to play a huge role in being able to stay connected, being able to use Amazon to get whatever she wants, or HelloFresh, or any of the online services are going to be huge. And if activity directors and communities aren't connected, they're really missing out, because it's not just, it's an everyone thing. Sure. So, yeah, definitely. Are you still doing that, Dale, by the way?
No, actually, I retired from the healthcare industry about, it'll be 2 years here coming in August, actually. I'm a full-time self-published author. I always start out the show with, I'm #1 best-selling fitness author, because Kevin always laughs whenever I say that. But
well, because he's being so modest, Becca, he's actually a #1 international best-selling author.
I forgot the international, sorry. But I would definitely love to talk shop with you, Becca, about that. I'm always receptive, and I can always tell you exactly sometimes what the inner workings and the inner thought process is for the activities director, because doing it for so many years and working with so many activity directors for so many years, I kind of understand exactly where they're coming from and exactly their motivation and exactly what you need to provide. But that's another discussion for another day. Becca, I need to kind of wrap things up. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Just Google me, but I'm on every, only because I'm on every social channel. So I'd love to connect with people on LinkedIn, just Becca Niederkrom, and I believe you guys have the spelling of my name, Niederkrom, and our Twitter @ConvoCounts.
Excellent.
One real quick question.
Sure.
Have you found LinkedIn to be very successful for you?
I am starting to conquer LinkedIn more so this year. So I put a sales funnel in my LinkedIn profile, and I have a group. I have a local group, and I'm doing all sorts of things. But I've been working on it maybe the last 12 months, a little bit harder.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where LinkedIn's going to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It's still really kind of three-piece suit, if you will. It's not very loose, and everybody's just a little tight on there yet. So.
Yeah. We'll see.
I'm serious.
I have a LinkedIn group that I'm trying to do the way I run a Facebook group, but there's no notifications. Like Facebook, everyone's checking, they check their notifications. LinkedIn groups, there's no notifications.
Yeah.
So it's falling flat, but I'm going to stay the course for another 12 months. So ask me in 12 months.
Okay.
It's really happened.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's see if we can see about making a connection on LinkedIn. Any event, Becca, I really appreciate it. Stick around after this broadcast, folks. I appreciate you tuning in today. Don't forget, get in touch with Becca Niederkrom. You can do that on LinkedIn, Twitter. If for some reason you're listening to this on a Stitcher, you can always just rewind that and write it down. And you can also see everything in our show notes. So thank you very much for tuning in, folks. And on behalf of Bootstrap Businessmen, Kevin, Dale, we're out of here.
See ya.
Just a reminder, you can support the show by simply shopping at Amazon through the link in the show description. Every time you make a purchase through the provided link, a small percentage of sales goes back to support our show and cover overhead costs. And there's no additional cost to you, and it greatly helps us out. Simply go to the link, bookmark it in your browser, and do your shopping on Amazon at no extra cost to you while you support your two favorite podcast personalities, Bootstrap Businessmen.
Absolutely, Dale. And also, everybody, just as a reminder, you can follow us at Stitcher.com. Just type in Bootstrap Businessmen. It's going to, pull up all of our shows and episodes so you can listen to us there. Go to SoundCloud.com. Type in Bootstrap Businessmen. iTunes.com. And type in Bootstrap Businessmen. And you can follow us. You can download the podcast on your phone if you have an iPhone. Stitcher and SoundCloud both have an app that you can put on your phone so you never miss an episode.